Hey everyone, welcome back to our continued coverage of the Pokemon Perfect ADV Championship 2020. This is our third set in the round of 8. I'm not going to explain every single time I do one of these videos what the structure of the tour is. If you're here, hopefully you've already watched hopefully the entirety of the previous two sets, but at least the beginnings of Game 1 where I explain what the structure of the tour is. So I don't feel the need to do that over and over again. Let's just get into the action. Here we have the number 1 seed, and obviously one of the favorites, being one of the best, if not the best, ADVs in the world, the Thelinearcurve against Gacu. Linear is on the bottom on an alt that a lot of people know, but in case you don't, Pyramid of Skulls is linear. So here's the game. Game 1 in a best of 3. Linear is on the bot with a Metagross, and that's going to become a Blissey when it stares down Zapdos, and we end up with Meta on Blissey, favoring Gacu, but he doubles back to Zapdos, gets the advantage against the incoming Starmie. Now, Blissey comes in, Thunderbolt there, so he had a couple opportunities to BP to something like a beat-up Dugtrio, but clearly he does not have that. He does have a Lax that gets hit with Sing. Linear has been running the Sing Blissey forever. It is a big fan of that Mon, and Lax certainly is a Pokemon that you don't overly want to get put to sleep, though to be fair, it is very bulky right now because there's no sand from either player. Protect comes down for Meta, which is gaining lefties. There was a Surf. There's Earthquake, and there's Ice Beam, fishing for either the Zapdos switch in or a random BS freeze. Doesn't catch either one. It's going to meet the Lax, but Linear is going to bust out Marowak here, and that's going to be a massive threat to anything, especially staring down a sleeping Poke. He's going to go Focus Punch here, 61% to the incoming Coon, very hefty damage. Like I said, there's no sand, so the bulky things, the Coon and the Lax, are going to stay bulky, but man, Marowak hits like a truck. Here comes Tyranitar making sand, so things just got less bulky all of a sudden, and Coon is going to come in as the Tar does, maybe scare it away. Weird that Gaku this whole time actually does have a Dugtrio. I'm surprised that he didn't have a beat-up Dugtrio to get that in immediately on the Blissey when he had opportunities early and potentially take that out. But that's not the set that he has. I guess he's using one of the older, more traditional Dugtrio sets, which it might cost him, really. If he could have taken out the Bliss, maybe this would be different, but right now he finds himself behind, not only down with Pokemon 6-5, but he also still has that sleeping Lax as well. So Meta does find its way in against Bliss. Earthquake is a good prediction for Gaku. Meteor Mash there would have been resisted by the Star, though it would have, of course, had the chance for the attack raise. Surf comes down, and so does Earthquake. Both of them getting low, but Starmie will not live another Earthquake. Meta obviously will live a non-crit here, but it does have Recover, so at this point Gaku takes the opportunity to fish for an attack raise that he does not find. There's Recover again, and I don't like the Earthquake as much this time. I think I would have mashed again and gone for the raise again, since I think that was an obvious Recover turn, but Gaku sees it differently, and he's going to Earthquake yet again here. Had he found an attack raise in any number of mash attempts, he did only mash once, this would be a different scenario, but right now he's not doing so hot against the Starmie, and especially now with the Protect on the Recover turn. Linear wins the prediction war in this case, and Gaku's going to be forced out. So now Lax is going to be in. Let's see, he's killed the one sleep turn. Meta's going to come in for that. That's going to be a second killed sleep turn, but Meta also a physical threat, just as the Marowak is, and that's going to prompt Gaku to show his last poke. A previously unrevealed Starmie takes 48, which is a lot, from the mash on the way in, and Gaku thinks it's banded, so he goes to his own Meta here. We end up with Meta on Meta, and yep, it's just more Meteor mashing coming down. Gaku's, of course, way less healthy at 14%. Out of the way he goes. He believes him. It's Banded. Here comes Zapdos to resist the mash. That still takes a big chunk because Banded really does hit that hard. But finally, the meta is going to be prompted out by the Zapdos. Blissey comes in immediately. Rain Dance is going to get rid of the sand. S-Toss, 29%. Zapdos in range where another one will kill. BP's out of the way. And it is the aggressive S-Toss again. Doesn't go for the soft-boiled here. Very safe against the Starmie nevertheless. S-Toss again, why not? Blissey doesn't exactly have a lot of offense, but that's the best she can do. T-Wave coming down for Starmie makes sense. Support the Coon and the two physical heavy hitters. Starmie, we already know, has recovered, so it's not in any meaningful danger here. Linear thinks now's the time to reestablish sand, and he does manage to do that, but it's not a recover turn, it's a surf, and down goes the Tyranitar, so Gacu does not let that in for free. He now outspeeds the Gengar and gets a T-Wave off on it. However, it'll cost the Starmie its life when it dies to Hidden Power Grass there, bringing us to a 5-4 situation with Linear again in the lead. Make that a 5-3 situation as Ice Punch takes out Zapdos. Meta will outspeed Gar here thanks to Paralysis. Don't love the explosion, but maybe he was trying to hit a priority target. What he gets instead, whether it was intended or not, is the Starmie. And we're going to end up in this situation. Maybe he's trying to simply boom down to last poke either Coon or Lax. Looks like he's going for the Coon. It's the sub-Coon variant. He does get a crit surf there for the one-hit KO from 100%. That certainly helps. But Gaku does still find himself behind here 2-3. And the Marowak is so dangerous on the other side. It again comes in on the sleeping Lax, and these earthquakes are going to be a problem. Gaku needed to wake up there and get a counter off, a self-destruct off, a body slam with para off, a crit return, something. But he didn't get any of those things. He was not able to wake up, and now it is only the Coon for Gaku, and it looks like a non-rest variant, though it could still have that. Surf Sub, it could still have rest. There's Calm Mind, so it would have to be last move rest, which, again, totally a thing. It could, and that would make it interesting, but it also means that guaranteed he doesn't have Sleep Talk if he has rest, and that means that the Marowak coming in on a rest turn would be a huge issue if Linear can manage to do that. But there is no sand anymore. The Rain Dance did get rid of it after the T-Tower already went down, so that makes the Coon way bulkier and gives it a much better chance here. There's a crit on Bliss, which is also what he needs. Gaku making a stand here, trying to make a comeback. If he has rest, he has to do it now, but evidently he does not. He's going to go for the surf. This one doesn't crit, and it's not going to be enough. If he had rest, it would have been interesting. Perhaps we're looking at last move Ice Beam there, but I'm not sure about that either because I think he would have gone for the freeze as opposed to the crit because it's mathematically better. So maybe the Coon was simply the UD Coon and it also had Rain Dance, which would not have helped in that situation, but we never do see the last move. Nevertheless, Linear, ever creative, as always, unpredictable player, busting out the Marowak, is going to get the W in Game 1. But remember, these are best of 3 sets. We're not done here. Here is a Game 2. The players staying in the same positions as before. Linear, Pyramid of Skulls on the bottom, Gaku on the top. They both lead T-Tar. One of them stays, one of them doesn't. Brick Break coming down on the incoming Skarm. Immediate reaction with Fori, and it's going to be an interesting protect. I guess he was playing around stay in for Fire Blast there, but that is not what he gets, and they both spike up. 2 layers to 1, and Roar is going to drag T-Tower out yet again. We see that it does have lefties, so yes, Linear knows it actually could have had Fire Blast or Flamethrower or what have you there, maybe even Thunder, but he did not go for it if Gaku does have those things. We see that it is a Moltres Fori TSS, which I know that Linear is a big fan of, and I've seen Gaku run it as well, so both of these players like this archetype. It's a variety that has Salamence in the back. This is a team I'm pretty familiar with. It was used by, I think, PDC in Kalos Invitational 4, perhaps, or maybe it was against Asta in ADV Cup this year, but we've seen this in a couple of prominent tour games. This is a relatively known variation of this archetype. Salamence shooting Fire Blasts here, and they both actually opted to bring a Moltres team, so that makes it really interesting. Now, one of them is Moltres Fori, one of them is Moltres Skarm. They're not exactly the same, but they both are bringing a similar Spikes Moltres TSS archetype for this game too. And Linear brought the shiny Moltres, which is clearly superior to the non-shiny variant of Gaku. So, back we are to this matchup, and it's now 3-1 on Spikes, favoring Gaku. Whether or not there's a Gengar for either player, currently unknown. It's not revealed for either. There are still 5 unrevealed pokes, so there totally could be a Gengar for either guy, but it's not been shown, and Gaku has not attempted to rapid spin the 1 layer. Swampert comes in on what is, we've seen Fire Blast Roar, what totally could be a mixed Mence. Is there an HP Grass here? Certainly I would expect Linear to scout for it in some way. But he doesn't. He just stays in and says, you know what? I don't think you have it. He goes Earthquake into Salamence, bold in his prediction, as always. If there is an HP Grass, it doesn't come down, and the Swampert is relatively safe for the time being. But now Gaku's Swampert, so very similar teams for these guys, going on the offensive against Skarm. Surf 24%. Now Fori comes in, 16% is the best that Linear can do with his Skarm. He drill pecks again. And Rapid Spin comes down at this point uncontested. The spike advantage solely with Gaku with a 3-0 lead despite both players having spikers. And at least Linear reestablishes the 1 layer, making it 3-1. But Moltres comes in. This looks like a terrifying Pokemon for Linear's team. Typically, both of these kind of archetypes, the TSS from both players has a hard time switching into Moltres. Yeah, I was just about to say, usually the best switch into Moltres on these teams is Moltres, and that's what we see here. Flamethrower X2, 29 and then 31%. This one does 32, so a little bit more coming from Linear. We might be looking at Modest versus Timid here. Gaku does seem to have the faster bird, but nevertheless, he is out of here and he goes to Bliss. Full team revealed for Gaku. I think most of us probably knew that those were the final pokes, but for those who didn't, voila. For Linear, there are a couple variants here. Celebi Gengar is a variant that I used in SPL and that other people have used a bazillion times. It's also possible that he has a Jirachi or a Blissey or that kind of thing in the back. It could be Gengar X. There could be an arrow in the back. So it's not completely determined what it is for Linear, but you could certainly narrow it down to only a handful of combinations. And Celebi gets shown here, which certainly implies that it is the classic build with the last poke Gengar, but it hasn't actually been shown yet, so we'll see. Mence comes in here, getting an Intimidate off. It's going to be Leech Seed landing on Salamence. We are still 30 turns in at 6-6. And at this point, I think both players have a pretty good idea what they're up against. Like I said, the last poke is still technically a question mark for Linear, but it is likely a Gengar here. Hidden Power coming down. That's going to be HP Fire. That is going to catch Gaku by surprise and end the day for the Fori. That puts Linear in the lead. That's the first knockout of the game, 6-5. Swampert comes into a poke that probably has both Will-O-Wisp and HP Grass and can really hurt it, but it doesn't do either. It is Flamethrower instead. However, Gaku gets the prediction right on the following turn. He does go HP Grass. There's the knockout, and it is not Last Poke Gengar. It is instead Last Poke Aerodactyl, a more aggressive take on the team, and a nice little cleaner here. Though Rock Slide will be resisted by the weakened Swampert belonging to Gaku, neither player with the ability to spin block, but it doesn't matter because neither player has a living spinner, so any amount of spikes that go down for either guy will be there for the rest of the game. 3 of them right now beneath Linear's team, though there are only the 2 Pokemon out of his 4 remaining that care. That being said, Gaku does retake the lead, but only very briefly because it's going to be a 4-4. And now Tyranitar will be the follow-up after the Aerodactyl revenge kill. See what the T-Tar has up its sleeve. He's going to go for a failed counter. That is the wrong time to use that move. He had an opportunity, had he gone for, say, Brick Break there, to kill the opposing Tyranitar, but he's not able to make the prediction. Gaku had a moment there where he could have really started to snowball this game, but he doesn't get it right, and now he's losing his edge and Linear starting to inch ahead. Gaku gonna have to make the comeback. Salamence comes in here hoping that he can survive the following attack, and yes, it is not another Rock Slide. It's just Hidden Power, presumably Bug, and he takes that just fine. Now Brick Break comes down on the opposing Aerodactyl, does about a third. However, the faster Aerodactyl with the very hard to deal with Rock Slide at this point coming down. Gaku really doesn't have great answers. The best thing he's got is this Pursuit Tar. He does come in and scare the Aerodactyl off. He does get a boosted Pursuit off, but he does not get the kill. So Aerodactyl, while weak, is still alive, crucially for Linear. Gaku down to 2 pokes, the Moltres and the Pursuit Tar. It's going to be a 3-2 after this HP Grass, but Aerodactyl is a huge problem at this point. Needs the Rock Slide, miss, and does not get it, and now only the Tyranitar can win the game for Gaku. Rock Slide comes down. Pursuit, damned if you do, damned if you don't. He stays in and dies. It is now a 2-1, but T-Tar has its work cut out for him against a Celebi that may have a grass attack, and we see that it does, and a Moltres that almost certainly has a grass attack. Crunch Crit is cute. It does kill the Celebi there and make it vaguely interesting, but unless this is the weakest Moltres in the world and it doesn't have HP Grass, neither of which are the case, there is no chance of survival for Gacu, and indeed the Moltres finishes the game and the set for Linear. This game very close. This one looks like it could have gone either way. I can't help but wonder for Gaku what could have been had he done something other than counter on that one turn with the T-Tar against the arrow. Would that have been the difference, him winning the game or not? I don't know, but it would have made it interesting. I think Gaku certainly had a shot had he clicked Brick Break, for example, on that turn. Nevertheless, Linear, the most dominant ADV player of recent times, if not ever, is yet again the winner. He is going to be in the top 4, and we have a hell of a pairing for him. He's going to be against Asta. There's no randomization here. This is seeded. This is bracketed. We already know beforehand what the potential matchups could be, and we already saw Asta in an earlier video defeat Altina. So we know that it's going to be Asta against Linear in the round of 4, and that is a superstar pairing that many are going to consider the real finals, even though it is not the finals. But what we do need to do is resolve the other side of the bracket. It is going to be Bush Tush against the winner of this next pairing that you guys have yet to see. Honestly, that I've yet to see. I haven't watched the games either, but we're going to watch them together. It's going to be the next set of videos here on YouTube. Hopefully you guys like them. Thumbs up if you liked this set, and stay with me for the next.